Hi, so continuing on from where I've got left off before, which if you haven't listened to the other ones, it was to do with, I think it was on Flat Earth Dude's channel. They were talking about medicine and vaccines and stuff like that, and it always worries me a little bit because I guess I'm worried about people making claims that they have no proofs for. I mean, because anyone can say anything, and YouTube is a place for that, where people can just make, claims, and the danger is that, people can be susceptible and follow those things, but how accurate are they? And then I was thinking, well, the problem is I don't know myself, and that's really what the problem is that I'm expressing, is that it worries me that when it comes to medical things, how, because I know that since I've been looking at this, and I've documented a few on this podcast to do with cancer, to do with ganglion and a few other things that, where medicine hasn't got it right, and they would be telling people, yeah, this is perfectly safe, perfectly fine, and yet it's turned out that it hasn't been. So are there other things? Is it everything? I think that's the problem. It's like when people say like all medicine is bad or all vaccines are bad, but then are they? I mean, are we being unnecessarily vaccinated when maybe whatever we're being vaccinated against no longer exists? Sometimes they say, yeah, you have to keep taking them because people from other countries will bring them in. Like recently there's been an uprise of, well, claimed to be an uprise of TB. But other things like diphtheria, polio, Hep B, Hep C, where they're to do with needles or to do with poor conditions and water and food and stuff like that. I mean, is it possible you could get it in this country? But the thing is, if you do get it, then if you're not vaccinated, maybe you're going to be in trouble. That's the problem. And the thing is I suppose the problem is we're relying upon those people in the medical industry, the big pharma and all that kind of stuff, to actually be telling us the truth. But the problem is because people are mistrustful of them because of recent events, because of examples of where we're told one day, yeah, that's perfectly fine, and the next day it's not. So we don't know, did they know all along? Was it all about money? We know how the world works for money. We know that no breakthrough cures are being found these days. It's all treatments of ongoing tablets, on and on and on. So is the vaccination the same thing? That we're just being vaccinated about with things that the chances of getting them are so small, and even if we did get them, as long as we reported quickly, we could be then vaccinated or given something, if we did catch it. Like whenever I go to South Africa, and I've mentioned this before, so maybe I'm preaching against myself here, that when I go to South Africa, you have to have all these vaccinations, and I always think how it's funny, my wife has to have them even though she's from South Africa, and yet when she was there, she didn't have them. So have I actually seen examples of where it's not true what they're saying? I don't know. That bit is, I guess, when it comes to other things, it doesn't matter so much what you believe, in the sense that it's going to do no harm to no one else if you believe in, say like the flat earth or 9/11 or whatever. But when it's to do with medicine, I guess we have to be a lot more careful, because especially if you're making a claim that you have no proof of. And like I said, the thing is that I don't want to sound like a gatekeeper that's sort of backing that only people with degrees or with the lab coats are the ones that we should trust, when we know that there are examples where that's not been the case. But the problem is, until we have people from the so-called truther movement who are have that kind of capability or access to doing these kinds of tests, the problem is, I suppose, only big pharma and people like that can do these tests. But we need someone in the truther community who has experience and who's not shield or a gatekeeper to actually tell us the truth of these things to do with medicines and vaccines. And but I suppose the thing is, then there would be a whistleblower, and then people won't believe them because whistleblowers have a negative connotation, and then I'll be the same, thinking, well, is he telling the truth or not? I know it would be very difficult if I ever got anything. What would I do? I know I would ask a million questions now, and I'd be a lot more skeptical of what I'm being told, especially when the people that I ask don't seem to really know very much and are only spouting what they've been taught from books. I know. Man, the other thing I wasn't sure whether I should make a comment on this or not, but I thought, as I've mentioned his channel, I should do. So I finally got a chance to listen to a large majority of the 3-hour stream of Poncho Pete's new channel, The Son of Man. And I mean, at first it was like, nah, this is too much. And then I sort of started thinking about it, trying to keep an open mind about it. Obviously, I've seen Pete Shea stuff on this similar kind of stuff. My problem is with Pete is that I never know how serious he is, because even when I used to watch him on the Poncho Pete channel, it never came across as serious as, say, other people's channels when they talk about these subjects. There was an element of levity, so I don't know sometimes whether it sort of makes me think that is it serious or not? Is this so it makes it more hard to take it in, as it were. I mean, some of it's interesting, like, I mean, the transgender thing, to me, it doesn't bother me, and I know I made a podcast previously about this, that I don't think it is if people want to change whatever, then, everyone's a human being. We live in all these boxes and systems and all that, and that's all part of the old mindset. So, I mean, from a religious point of view, I can understand why people might have an issue with it. But I think there's a lot more things that are going on that need our attention other than that. I think it's a bit of a distraction. And I think that's why it's put out there, to distract us from actually the real issues, which is the injustice and the inequalities that are going on here, and the fact that we're not realizing that we're all one species and we all should be working together and not apart. And that money and transgender and all these things are distractions to keep us off thinking this way, that to keep us in the old mindset of judging, of you against you and this, that and the other. But it was interesting when he's talking about, because he was saying about bone structure, and I mean, some of them are a little bit out there, but I don't know, but whether it does it, I mean, I don't know why all these celebrities would be changing gender, especially like women changing, men changing into women, for the sense that women for a long time have not had it as easy as men, especially in Hollywood, when it comes to roles, when it comes to money and all that kind of stuff. So why would you go through that, and why so many of them? But it all depends, because I'm not sure, is he saying that people are going through surgery, or is he talking about that it's an evolutionary thing, that people, because of what's put in our food, that we're starting to become feminine or masculine through some kind of DNA genetical kind of way. But nevertheless, even if people are changing this, that and the other, I mean, yeah, it's another, say, a lie or a mistrust or whatever, but I don't know really, on the grand scheme of things, there's a lot bigger things I would have thought. But yeah, it was interesting, because I did search about, is it true that the male and females have different skeletal makeups? And there was, because one of them was talking about babies, a way of telling if your baby's a boy or a girl, depending on the certain things. But what I don't know is how accurate are those things? Are they 100%? Is the shape of your head when you're a male or when you're a female, is that 100%? I suppose in a way it must be, because when they do, like when they find a skull in the ground, they claim that they can tell you that whether how old it is and how it died, and then whether it's a man or a woman. But whether these things are 100% accurate, I mean, if you've got 100 bona fide men and 100 bona fide women's skulls, would 100% would that formula of the way the eyes are and the way the shape of the head, does it work? I don't know. But yeah, was interested in that kind of thing. But I wouldn't want to dwell on it. Well, unless it's got some, I mean, where do you go from there? Okay, so there are some celebrities out there who have changed sex, for what purpose I'm not really sure, to trick us to get further in their career, or what. I mean, unless you're thinking it's some kind of part of the cabal and they're the ones really in charge. I don't think that's the case. The problem is especially from a religious aspect, the real problem is how we're all living. The fact that we're not living, and I'm not trying to sort of push, say, I guess the agenda that I like talking about, but I'm just, the thing is, I don't think, does it cause people pain that one man's a boy or a girl? I suppose the thing is, if you're being duped and that, you know, like he claims that he slept with people he didn't realise were transgender, then yeah, that's a different aspect. But the fact that people are starving, that people are dying, I would have thought from a religious point of view that would be a more important thing. My other thing was, I was a little bit concerned about that, the Son of Man claim. I don't know if that is trying to say he's Jesus, or, I mean, we're all Son of Man, religiously speaking, and Son of Man and Son of God was used a lot in the Bible before Jesus. I mean, I know people take that literally, but yeah, it was a little bit worrying if that's, he's claiming that he's a Messiah or a prophet. The thing is, there's a lot of people that claim these things, but then they don't actually live religious lives. I mean, I was a practicing Muslim. I'm not really practicing as much now. I pray a bit, but not the 5 times a day that I used to. The fasting, trying to actually, read the whole. I mean, a lot of Christians and Muslims, they don't read the whole of their religious texts, and I don't know how you can claim to be following things if you're not actually reading them and actually following them. Because I guess wouldn't that be a mark of, to know, well, I suppose the thing is, if you're going to claim that the Bible and the Quran are not really God's teachings, but then, I mean, how else, that's how God was brought to us, unless he was co-opted and someone, God really existed, and then someone came along and thought, oh no, I'm going to usurp God. But then I guess if God was really there, he's not going to allow that to happen, unless he's just allowing free will totally, but if you follow the route, and I'm going round and round here, but if you follow the route that, yeah, the Bible or the Quran are true, and God does exist, and this is his way to talk to us, then only by reading those things and actually following them as best as you possibly can, and that means, like, if the Bible or the Quran says before you have sex you should get married, well, if you're not doing that, then there's a problem. Or if the Bible says you should fast or pay alms, or do all these, the Bible and the Quran have lots of instructions for human beings, and lots of religious people don't actually follow them. They don't even know them, and that worries me, especially when they're starting to make other claims that somehow God's talking to them, or they are some kind of prophet or Messiah. I mean, the Bible warns of false prophets. So I think people have to be very careful when they make these claims, because especially if they don't appear to be following what looks like a religious life as set out by the religion that they claim to be following. But I think that's the problem these days. There's a lot of people that, like whenever they do statistics of how many people are religious, and everyone says, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, and I'm sure I would put down that I'm a Muslim, even though these days I'm very dubious about, I don't know, because I wasn't there, were these religious texts, are they genuine, is there such thing? I mean, but a lot of people will just say, yeah, I am, and then, wait a minute, do you go to church? Have you actually ever read the Old Testament and the New Testament from the beginning to the end? Like, I mean, I've read the Quran, 5-6 times, not the whole of it. I've even read it out. But there's a lot of people that haven't even done those things, and then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, how are you following God's word if you haven't even read how the way that God's talked to you? Especially when it's him who's told you that this is what I've given you, and please read it. So yeah, it is a little bit worrying, but I don't know with Pete, because he does joke about, I don't know how serious he means about the Son of Man and all that kind of thing, whether it's just he's just talking about what all of us being the Son of Man, as it were, all of us being God's children. Yes, okay. You know, being directed by the things that have come your way. But yeah, I just think, I mean, I don't know, I'm not going to talk for God, but I would have thought that the suffering and injustices of his people, by those people in charge and in power that have created this system and this world that we live in, would be more of a problem for him. I don't know. That's what I would have thought anyway. But it is interesting, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm not trying to judge. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I thought, oh well, everyone's giving their 2 pence worth, so I might as well give mine, and I want to give a sort of more balanced view. But yeah, I suppose the thing is it's easy just to close your mind and laugh and just say this, that and the other, but unless you give it a chance, you know, that's the same with flat earth. People could do that with that. The fact is, once you realise that you've been lied to and you've been duped, not to keep an open mind is to fall for the same trick again. So you have to keep an open mind, and sometimes, you know, take these things in and see, you know, question the reality that you're in. Because remember, your mind is an old mindset, is a globe mindset, is the way the system is. You've been taught from birth how to think, how to feel, and all that kind of stuff. So breaking through that is very difficult, because everything that comes to you, you immediately, you know, like I did with medicines and vaccines, I immediately think, no, it's perfect. And then, you know, I have to think about it. Wait a minute, what about this? What about that? If you have to have an open mind, I think, to be a good human being, especially in this world that we live in, to be able to see the differentiation between truths and lies. Alright, that's enough. I've waffled enough. Hope you enjoyed. Take care. Take it easy. God bless and peace.